for me an extreme privilege to be here with all you. I want to thank to the organization, especially to Nino and our colleagues from Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. The wonderful opportunity to be here. And it's special also to be at this university. I really love when we can share ideas and discuss in all buildings like this one, a university with long history of knowledge and science. I am at home, you know, one of the most important parts of my life is coming from Georgia. And also my Princess Maria is here, also my brother-in-law, Gato and Marika here, so I'm feeling really happy. I am here just to share with you some ideas, some reflections. I am not here to tell you the truth. I love Todorov when he says never it's specifically the truth, but it's more to start a dialogue. So my dialogue is about how from occupational therapy we can integrate education, research, and intervention from occupational therapy perspective. So I am from University of UVic, University of Central Catalonia, and for us it's an honor and it's a privilege to be here with you today. So the theme of the conference, it's about identity. So the question is who we are as occupational therapists, and especially what's the meaning of our profession, what's the purpose of our profession. I think it's an important question we must do yourselves, to think about our actions. Because I don't know about you, but the other day I was writing an article in the newspaper. In Spain, sometimes the feeling is like somebody running in the street, and you ask, "Where are you going?" He says, "I don't know, but I'm in a hurry." I think sometimes we are in this liquid society, as Bauman says, the rich society, that is Ulrich Beck saying, and we are doing a lot of things, too much things, but what's the meaning? What's the purpose? What's the direction? Where are we going? Tagore said that if you want to make your path in life straight away, it's very important to link your vehicle to a star. Before we talk about our star, Tina is guiding us, and we have a lot of people who is guiding with our knowledge and with their inspiration. So, when I'm working, of course, I have a lot of powerful theoretical foundations in my work. I always follow Haneke's guidelines to be complex, to have a complex mentality. As occupational therapists, we cannot just know about occupational therapy, we have a wonderful knowledge, but of course, if we want to deal, to interact, and to have a real impact in a complex society, as Edgar Morin says, we need a complex understanding of society. So, for example, we work a lot from John Dewey perspective, Edgar Morin, Paulo Freire, from South America, from education, and of course, we need to understand society today. So, of course, we can talk about Zygmunt Bauman, Ulrich Beck, Sousa Santos, Pierre Bourdieu, but especially, I am very attached to philosophy. Today, the science is saying philosophy is not important. So many people say philosophy is not important. I do not agree. Science is extremely necessary, but if we lose philosophy, we lose the most important part, the meaning of things, why we do things. It's not just to know how to do things better. It's not to reflect about why we are here, what's our purpose, what I was telling before. So, for example, I like authors like Anna Arendt, Leonardo Boff, Paul Ricoeur, Levinas, Foucault, and I'm going to talk about them because you know them, and that's not the purpose of my lecture today. And of course, we need our knowledge, and you must be proud. You are part of a strong profession who has been developing a strong knowledge for all you. Have occupational therapy that it started from 1917 in USA, but also we have occupational science. There are not so many disciplines that has applied science like occupational therapy, but also we have occupational science, a basic science that is researching and creating knowledge only for us. So this is something, we must be aware of it, be proud of it, but take profit of it. Sometimes it's sad when I'm interacting with more occupational therapists and they don't know some of the theories, authors that people, occupational therapists worldwide, are developing. And maybe you know, we start the movement of occupational therapy without borders, time ago with Frank Cronenberg. Now you know the third book of occupational therapy without borders is published with Nick Pollard and the Chaos. And I'm still very attached to this movement. And I think we must go beyond, we must go further, and we must keep this spirit without borders. When we start this idea without borders, for us, it means to bring occupational therapy to all the people who needs it, although they do not have economic resources. I was working in refugee camps, I was working in populations where I was asking to my teachers at university, I wanted to work in the humanitarian field. I was asking my professors, I want to work in a refugee camp, what can I do? They were looking at me, saying, this is not to teach, sorry. Of course it was occupational therapies. Because when occupational therapy can contribute, when occupational therapy can be part of the project, always, if there is a risk and or occupational dysfunction. And this occupational dysfunction or risk can be provoked by physical problems, psychological problems, poverty, environmental problems. So if these reasons brings to a risk to occupational dysfunction, there is the need for occupational therapy. If there is no risk, there is no occupational dysfunction, we are not there. We are not like Superman, superheroes, we are not everywhere. But that's the justification. And for example, for me it was very strong influence to work in South America. I've been very lucky to work together with people, for example, like Brazil, Metuya. In Brazil, I want to reivindicate here the occupational therapy that is not coming from Canada, USA, England, Australia. We have wonderful occupational therapy that's coming from South America, Portugal, France, Caucasus. I think we have had an Anglo-Saxon domination of the profession. And I love to work with them in the spring. We will go back in Canada, it will be my 6th time in Canada, we love their work, but also it's time to recognize the wonderful contributions that Africa, South America, and all the parts of the world, like Caucasus, are doing to our profession. I've been working with Alejandro Guajardo. We just published a book. It's the first book. We have compiled more than 55 authors for 8 different South American countries. We just published it. I'm proud to be one of the coordinators 2 months ago. And it's amazing. When we're talking about social issues, how to deal from poverty, from occupational therapy point of view, when we're talking about human rights, we have a master called Alejandro Guajardo, who was working with the people who was being tortured by the dictatorship in Chile. So we have a wonderful knowledge coming from there. And of course we have our master, this Hanneke van Bruggen. You know, we are here, I am here because she was here 12 years ago. So nothing else to be said. Of course I love to work. I've been so lucky to work with people like Elizabeth Townsend, Occupational Justice, Kate Warford. I'm a friend of Michael Iwama, and Rasha Thibault, she's the goddess. But these are some of the authors that from OT's perspective has influenced me a lot in the projects I will present and in my reflections. I want to share with you for you to have an understanding why this man is saying what he's saying. But I must say that the most important lessons in my life I did not learn at the university. I'm sorry for the dean. The most important lessons I learned from my father, I learned from my mother, and I have learned working with the communities. We must be very aware, as occupational therapists, have the privilege to work with, to learn with the communities. People with physical disabilities, people who are in a refugee camp. Yesterday I was with Maria in Greece. In a refugee camps, we're just learning about them. So I will share with you some of the lessons that make me who I am as a occupational therapist. Part of the theory, because I did a PhD in education, I am the director of a research group, I did a master in business administration, blah blah blah. I have done the scientific development, but the human development has been as much or even more important for me. And the first lessons were from Africa. And it's a very important lesson. It's about vitality, and it's about joy for life. Power, it's so important. And yesterday I was discussing with one friend, Theo, and I told to him, first lesson, stop applying the deficit model to yourself. I was trained in Spain 92 to 94. And we were trained in a model just based on deficits. You don't see the capabilities, you don't see the resources, you just see what's the problem of the person. So the problem is that we interiorize this mentality when we look to ourselves, and we're looking always deficits and problems, and we have not been able to see the amazing resources and capabilities of our profession when we work linked with other professions and to the communities. So it's time to believe in our true potential, and just it's time also to recover the vitality and the joy for life. I don't know the situation in Georgia, Armenia or Azerbaijan, but you know, in Spain last year the only thing people was talking about was crisis and crisis and crisis. And we had a kind of melancholic state. We were swimming in a lake of depression. And at that time, for me, it was so wonderful lesson what I learned in Africa, the lesson of vitality, of joy for life, of happiness. Yesterday, a small master reminded me from Africa. He was a refugee from Eritrea, who was this size, and he was a happier man in the refugee camp. And it was amazing to be with him and to learn with him. So that was when I was 18 years old, so it was first trip. I went to Africa 3 months. I learned so much there. I learned also about poverty. I learned about inequality. I learned so many important lessons there. The second big lesson in my life was coming from Guatemala. I had the privilege to work as a occupational therapist 6 months at the refugee camps with people who had to escape from Guatemala because their own army were just killing them. You know, there was more than 45,000 refugees in Guatemala. There was more than 150,000 orphans in this country. So I was amazed for the opportunity to work as an occupational therapist. I was working with a social worker, but my client was a community of 1,200 people. And as we are working from the theory of systems, our system of intervention can be a community of 1,200 people. It's amazing. Not so many professions can work in a dyadic perspective, me and you, with a group of 10, 20 people. Oh, why not to work with a community? The last project I was developing, one of the last projects in big university, was designing a program to combat poverty for a city called Manguero. It's 40,000 people. So it's amazing how we have this wonderful opportunity to work and to design programs, not to have impact in 1 person, 10 persons, 20 persons. Here it was 100 and 200 persons. And it's not about me, it was so easy to work with them. Because as we depart from the resources and their capabilities, it was like a puzzle. We were making just connections between the capabilities of the community themselves. So it was really so easy project for us. And our project was based on empowerment. I was not working directly with them, I was empowering them, giving capacitations about becoming, for example, mental health promoters, or just to develop their own small business, whatever. And then Guatemala, I learned about the community. And I think it's very meaningful to talk about communities in this congress. Because if you go to Bauman, he talks about social atomism. It's the society of the individualization. It's me against the world. We must compete in this capitalist society. It's about competition. It's not about community. And we are losing the community ties. And when we are alone, we are lost. We can go nowhere, really. They say that when one person dreams alone, it's just a dream. When two persons or more dream together, it's the beginning of a reality. So I think powerful dreams come from Caucasian region for occupational therapy. Also in Guatemala, I like the importance of nature. I have been developing the concept of occupational ecology and the importance to include the ecological dimension in our interventions in occupational therapy. For example, we have developed projects that we're working with people unemployed, living under poverty conditions, but at the same time we were recovering national parks in Catalonia. So you see, it's one project, it's about occupation, it's about productivity of people who are unemployed. They have a meaningful job, a well-paid job, so they can escape from poverty, but at the same time we are recovering a national park. So in this country you have a wonderful nature that I've shown me so many times. So why not to start thinking projects to take care of national parks, or for example, what about the inclusion of national parks? Can a person in a wheelchair to enjoy the beauty of your forest? In Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, can they enjoy nature? Because nature also, it's a part of the environment, an occupation we must consider. In the world today, there are millions of people who are environmental refugees. It's more than 100 million people, and they have lost their daily occupations, productivity, daily life, because of the environmental problems. So ecology is also causing occupational dysfunction. So it's a way we can intervene. You have done projects, landscaping in Spain, doing gardens, have beautiful garden at the university. You have done reforestation projects. So it's something to think. But also Guatemala learned the importance to fight. We must fight for a better society. It's not that we would like to have a more fair society, it's to fight for it. Rights are conquered. They don't give rights to people. People fight for rights and then they achieve rights. And we are here to fight for them, to fight with communities like people with disabilities, people with mental health issues, people who have real problems. And it's a fight, it's about passion. It's not something like, okay, maybe we should change this law, because it's unfair. It was unfair that people with mental disabilities had not the right to work in Georgia. But Georgia noticed, like Maria, you change it because you fight with the community to change this that was unfair. But it was a fact. It was not something that maybe could be done. It was something that we had to do. So, last lesson I want to share with you was Kosovo. For me, maybe it was the most meaningful lesson. I was working in the war countries. I've been working in Bosnia, Guatemala also, and Kosovo. And I was so lucky to work with Medicines Sans Frontiers. I was taking care of the mental health prevention program with children. Again, it was a challenge. We had a population of 50,000 people in a place called Jakovac, beautiful city, and we had to deliver preventative mental health intervention of maybe it was, 2,000 children. So how to do it? If we go back to our philosophy and we depart from the humanistic perspective of occupational therapy, it's so easy. The first thing is just to identify the resources of the community. And what were our resources in Kosovo? It was the teachers. Because the teachers had already the connection with the children. The teachers had love, they really love, and they really care for the children. And they have the professional skills. They have been working with the children all their life. So it had no sense to start a project of OT working with children. We were 2 occupational therapists, because in 3 months, I don't know, with so many children, we would have worked. But what we did was to train more than 60 professors in all in all the public schools. So at the end, we had teachers that were trained to become mental health promoters in all the public schools of Jacoba. And when we left, the project was going on, because so many times we are creating dependencies, because we just believe we have the knowledge and we must do it. And you know, my name is Salvador, and they say, well, you say, no, I'm here to say, no, I am there just to share knowledge. I am there to share opportunities. I am there just to be a catalyst, you know, chemics reaction. Potential is there, power is there, you're the catalyst. You make things happen. Of course, I have a knowledge to share. Of course, I am an expert in how to prevent mental health problems. Of course, we find a local psychologist for children who have already trauma. But our main role in Kosovo was to share this knowledge with the teachers and just to supervise them. It was they started doing OT practical work. We were there in the schools, so we spent 3 months working with them. And I must say it was a wonderful lesson about the stem of the human spirit. I was really amazed when I was working with the children who had been like 3 months hidden in the basement of the houses, waiting for death, because they were listening to combats. You know what we were talking about? That's in your history. The children had been for 3 months, just in any moment, the army could enter their houses and kill them. And these children, just giving them the opportunity to express through meaningful occupation that's played for them. All this experience, I was amazed to see the capacity to recover. It was amazing lessons of human resilience. But also it was the lesson about the importance of art, how art is a powerful occupation to restore the health and the social inclusion of people. So, even I myself that when suffering, visit myself, because suffering is not that just our clients are facing. Sometimes also suffering is knocking to our doors. We were talking 4 years ago, all of us, we suffered. For me, when I was suffering myself because of my father or other death or other events in my life, I was remembering the lesson that the children in Kosovo had given to me. I was thinking, if they could survive, they can confront war and keep on working, I can too. So, what I was talking, that we are working with survivors and with very special people. So you see here, for example, when we are working in the communities with the children, just using our tool of intervention, meaningful occupation. It's not just occupation. Anybody can use occupations. It's meaningful. It's about the need of the person. It's a psychological need to express something. It's about their interest. It's about their life. It's about their history. So meaningful occupation is a fragile balance where all these are confluencing all these factors. The need of the person can be from physical need, psychological need, social need, but also their interest, their values, their spirit. For example, Marigan said that spirituality is our true essence that we express through our occupations. So this was beautiful, and you see also the power of occupation. We wanted the children to be aware and to be able to express their experiences, and you can see in the drawings that they were really expressing all the traumatic experiences they have seen during the war times in Kosovo. And you can say it's difficult to be there as occupational therapy, of course, because you are listening all the narrative, you are seeing all the drawings on an MOT, but first on a human being. And of course, when you see that, it's hard. And we also, let me just say something connected to this. You must think about yourself like athletes. You are existential athletes. When you arrive to the life of the people, it's because they have Alzheimer, because they had a car accident and they are suddenly in a wheelchair. It's because they are unemployed and they have serious problems. So we are not arriving to a happy moment of the life of the persons. So we are confronting in our daily practice a strong existential issues in life: illness, death, disability, elderly, madness. So we must take care of ourselves, and we must, as the athletes prepare to compete in the Olympic Games, we must take care of ourselves to be able to work and not to fall down and to have burned out situation, for example. And of course it was difficult to see these drawings. These are drawings, and I could tell all the narrative and all the testimonies we were using. For example, the testimony method that was used with people who had been in concentration camps. And for me, I just remember perfectly to be seated with Islam. He was a 18-year-old boy. I was 19 at the time. It was me, the same age, just talking how he had been tortured during 9 months in concentration camps in Serbia. And of course, this is hard, but maybe you see in this drawing is the evolution. And the same way that it's hard the first month, the first 2 months, that when you let the children to express what they want. It's not, we never say draw about the war. It's not make a drawing about Jacoba, and you want to express about war, they do, and if they don't, we are not making them to express it. But when you see how the evolution of the drawings, you see the beauty of our profession, just to be able to work with them and to move from this line of war to this line of childhood again. It's such a beautiful, that's really such a beautiful profession. So I was talking about meaning, and we are at the university, so I go back to my first question. And what do you think what's the meaning of university? And what's the meaning to have occupational therapy now for here at the University of Tiblisi? And I devoted to Leonardo Boff. He's a Brazilian thinker. And when I read him, he captured me. Like when I was reading about Viktor Frankl, who created logotherapy. Viktor Frankl had been in the concentration camps in Auschwitz, and he wrote his psychological logotherapy. He just captured me. Leonardo Boff also captured me when he said, suffering, more than admiration, makes us to think. We have to think, we are academia, but this thinking cannot be abstract. I strongly believe this thinking must be extremely communicated with the communities and with the suffering we are confronting at the community level. So, it's extremely important, and we are here, we are academia, we must develop evidence-based knowledge, evidence-based practice. But at the same time, we never can forget that we are here to develop a humanity-based practice. We must put persons and to improve the health and the social participation of the communities in the first phase of our work. And also I think that's important for you. I studied Master of Business Administration, and I think also it's very important to be very tight to our philosophical identity, because this is what is giving us added value. What makes the beauty of occupational therapy, I strongly believe, is the combination of the art with the science, the philosophy with the theoretical development, the philosophical foundations with the research. So that's an important part of the branding of our profession. So when I working at the University of UVic, now I've been a teacher for 16 years, I always try to work in these 3 projects at the same time. We're always integrating these 3 aspects: education, research, and action. Of course, it's supposed that at the university we are educating the people, that's clear. Of course, it's supposed that we are doing research, but we should do, we are already doing, but I think we can go further, integrating also the action. So, when we talk about education, we are working from the service learning methodologies. It's not just about, later I will give examples, of course. It's not just about that we must make sure that we are training in excellence, scientific excellence, to our occupational therapy students. At the same time, we can do it giving a real service in a real learning environment to communities. And for me, it has no sense. It's a nonsense to have the wonderful potential of hundreds and thousands of volunteer students who are able to contribute to communities and to keep them for 4 years in this ivory tower, talking, you should, you could, blah, 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 blah. Because blah, blah, sorry, but it's not effective. It's not real life. So although in the classes we said we could, we should, blah, 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 when the students go to real action, real reality has nothing to see what they're explaining in the classes. So there is a strong disconnection, and it's a narrative that loses the meaning, because what they have been taught at the university level, it doesn't fit with what they're facing. So why not we bring the classes to the communities, and we bring the communities to the university? I just think it's just common sense, and as occupational therapists we are doing in so many countries, in so many places. For example, Maria also is doing service learning in Spain that she will share. Hanneke is leading so many projects, and you in Georgia, I know you have done so many of these projects. So we need learning by doing. This is the real learning, this is a real impact for people. But it must be a complex learning. We must be really aware of the seriousness of the reality we are confronting. For example, do you know the definition of occupational justice? I guess so, you have listened about occupational justice. It's funny because if you go to a congress, you have 70% of possibilities to listen to the quotation of 3,000 for authorities just saying occupational justice, time is great. It's about promoting social and economic change for people to be able to have access to meaningful occupation. It's a nice definition. Do you like it? Do you buy me this definition? But why are we talking about it? What's the meaning when we say promoting an economic change? Because when I ask people who are just like parrots, we are fighting for occupational justice, okay? I love it, I buy your idea. Tell me what you are supposed to do. We don't know. In so many cases, I don't know the percentage, it's not a evidence-based research. But to talk about economic change, it means that we understand that we are today a capitalist society in extreme phase that have a concrete consequences in the job, in poverty, unemployment, job precariousness, and to start thinking about how we can do an economy that's more human economy. You have social entrepreneurship, you have a common good economy, we have so many theoretical developments that we can connect to restore economy where the human beings are again in the center and not the accumulation of capital. But we must be very clear about what's the context, economic context. And we must learn about and understand all this to be able and to connect all this to our practice to say we can work to promote occupational justice. But if we don't understand our definitions, of course we cannot change the realities. So for example, I needed to do a master in business administration to work to transform economically and to work for job inclusion, because I really need to learn more about this. It's not to say we need to do an MBA. For example, what I'm saying is that we need a complex learning, a complex reality, and we are not alone. So it's always important to work with other disciplines from faculty of medicine, from social sciences, from other engineering departments, whatever. So then we can develop a complex learning. So it's about research, and I'm so happy I'm director of one research group about mental health and social inclusion. It's not about occupational therapy, sorry. It was too boring for me, sorry to say. I always love to learn, to work with different professionals. Of course I have autists in my team. I have a wonderful man called Nestor, but we presented 1 month ago our first technological project. It's to design a web page and application for 3D printing of orthoses for these people with disabilities to go inside the job market. But we have not done one. There is Nestor, he's a master in occupational therapy and 3D printing, but we are working with the University of Science and Technology, we are working with engineers from other faculties of my university, so we always need each other, professionals. But we're always working action research. I put participation in brackets because it's our idea, and we are not doing 100%. We are trying, we're involving as much as we are able to do the communities, but we're working on action research. All our research have to have a social impact, a health impact, and real impact on the communities. If not, we are not doing it. We are working from a critic paradigm, from a hermeneutic paradigm, and of course, we are including the positivistic paradigm. We cannot negate the positivistic paradigm. We're always working quantitative and qualitative. I came from qualitative research. My PhD work was based on qualitative. I love qualitative research, but I need quantitative research. So we're doing also always mixed methodologies. And what's very important, the democratization of the research. We're involving the people not as subjects, we're involving them as actors. For example, we're planning a research to see the impact of one wonderful project to combat stigma in Bilbao using TV and radio. And mental health survivors are part of the team of research. One is going to do the interviews, and another one who doesn't like to speak, but has a great observational skills, he will do a diary cam. And they are mental health survivors. They have a wonderful knowledge to contribute to our research. So this is one example. But for example, it's not just about to invite people to consult with them, why to do research, what do you think about the theme, do you want to be involved? It's also how we share the knowledge we are creating to the communities. I am part of the academia. I know I need because I want to survive as a teacher, to publish in a high impact journals, and we are doing. We need to go to congresses, we do. But what about we need to transfer the knowledge to communities? And for example, in the project we are doing with suicide, we are using art, and we are going to cultural centers and to museums to spread the results of the research to the community. One point I want to share with you is the need of action, the need today. Tomorrow it will be too late. We cannot wait. We have lost too much weight. That's talking about what we should do this function. They can contribute and to develop a healthy and meaningful life and to be what they are, citizens of full rights. That's my goal. It's not to improve strength, it's not to improve memory, skills, it's to work on inclusive communities. And of course we need to work with people, but especially we need to work with communities. It's about human rights, it's about citizenship. We are working the social determinants of health. It's wonderful we are in the Faculty of Medicine, but we have also the plus of the social sciences. On this, we are in the border, we are in the interface of the health science with the social science, and this gave us a special vision that we can contribute to society with this vision. And of course, we need to fight for occupational justice, but really understanding what we are talking about and really doing it. And we are developing a movement called social occupational therapy. It's to include also the ecological perspective I just commented you before. So, we are academia. John Dewey told us, as academia, we must develop an intelligent action. What is an intelligent action? It's the action who really understands the problems, the complexity of the society, and who is able to transform it. If we have a tiny knowledge in a tiny department, we have a tiny vision of the world. If we have a complex knowledge, we can really, with more people, with more professionals, with the public sector, with the professional sector, to transform communities. And I love Paul Ricard when he's talking about the phenomenology of the will. We are human beings capable of action, of work, of narration. We are able to create a new narrative for humanity. We need a new narrative based on human rights, based on health for everybody, based on equitability. So, 10 years ago, for example, here in Georgia, you started a wonderful narrative about occupational therapy, and you are the ones who will continue it here in Georgia, in Azerbaijan, and in Armenia. And I love also Heidegger when he's talking about the hands that acts. The hands is the medium of the being, the original source of meaning. If OT is not connected to occupations, to actions, for me it has the sense. We become people just preaching. And preaching. We could have articles. OT could be the best idea of the 21st century. And we like this kind of ideas. And we like to say that we also, the occupational scientists, we have humanity to do it better, and I still don't understand what it means. I want real projects. With real community, doing real transformation. And that's the power of our profession, I think. Hannah Arendt, I love her. She said that human action is our capability to create miracles. We must be aware that we can create miracles with communities. And the problem is sometimes we renounce to the big revolutions because we understand that the big revolutions start with the tiny revolutions. And we don't do the tiny one. And it's the summatory of the tiny ones who makes the big revolution. So the important is today, with what I have now, with the people surrounding me, what we can do to really transform the people. I love arching. The Greeks talk about the arching. It's our capacity to start, our capacity to create, the capacity to build. So many times we are renouncing to this wonderful capacity, and then we are left, I think, as professionals. So I will show some examples. For example, in University of UVic, we didn't have this wonderful campus that you have here with ancient university or university. I don't know if you have been there, or yeah, it's a beautiful building, and we had no green areas. So, but we have 1,000 square meters of an ugly place. So it was a place full of rubbish, and there was even rats. It was not a nice place. But as it is, we start thinking about not what it is here. We always need to see the possibilities. We need to see the becoming of the places of the people. So I start seeing the possibility to do a garden with my students of occupational therapy, but not just to do a garden. We implement this methodology, integrating the education with the action with the research. So we did a project, service learning methodology. We started this project in 2005. This project is still alive. We are working with the first semester students of occupational therapy. From the first week, they are in university, they are working in a garden, doing gardening with mental health survivors. That's learning by doing. From the first week, we're not talking about you could garden with them. They are gardening with them. So we do this learning service with the first year students of occupational foundations, but also about action. It's about job inclusion for mental health survivors. You know, in Spain, our unemployment rate is 90%. This is a huge problem. So as it is a huge problem, we must focus as it is to solve it. But also it's about dealing with the stigma. Because, I don't know in Georgia, but in Spain we have a problem with the stigma. And we see reality through stigmatizing lenses. So we don't see the potential and the capabilities of the mental health survivors. But also it's about research. I did a PhD and we have done a master based on this project. So we cannot say gardening is a meaningful occupation, and gardening has a true impact in the health and the social inclusion of the people who have done research. So here I share with you some images of this project with my great students. This is a project from last year with the first year students of occupational therapy at the University of UVic. Let me say I'm very proud of them. And it's real learning. It's not to talk about how to establish a therapeutic relationship. They are creating it. And the most important, they are not seeing a mental health survivor. They are seeing a person. Of course, they have a diagnosis, but they have potential, they have capabilities, they have a history, they have so many more things. Because sometimes, as it is, we are just seeing the labels, the diagnosis, and then we are lost. Because we don't see the most important. Because we need to see the potential and the capabilities to deal with the problems. Because sometimes the problems are really important. So these are the protagonists, people like Paco, we have gardeners, and we convert a place that was full of rabbits in this beautiful garden. So that's when it reminds me when Hannah Arendt said we can create miracles. It was kind of a small miracle to transform an ugly place in a beautiful space. But for me it's a metaphor of what we can achieve at the societal level. To transform a society based on the level of values of competence, of individualization. to recover community levels, solidarity levels, and to create beauty. I think beauty is a very important part of human life. And garden is not just for autistic students and mental health survivors, it's an open space. And when you are working as a autist, you can always develop intergenerational programs. So every year, we have more than 100 students from the public schools that comes and plant with us. And I can tell you, it's a great opportunity for our students and for the mental health survivors. They are really enjoying it. And this garden that we started with 900 euros budget, so sorry, I don't accept excuses that say, okay, in Spain you have a lot of money, you could do it because we had 900 euros budget. I can do a terrace in my home in Spain with that money. We need 20,000 euros, and we achieve ourselves the money because we are entrepreneurs, and we know how to present project, how to get that need, and we know how to look for money, how to look for funding, and we need to do that to make the project a reality. So I tell my students, 50% of your project is a humanitarian vision. It's about improving the health and the social participation of people. But 50% now is marketing, is business. You must sell the project. Because if I sell the project, I have the funding for it. Because I'm working with people who cannot pay for my services. Never. I have never done this. And it has been almost 20 years now. I always achieve the funding for the project. And we can do it. We have the skills and resources. Here, for example, we had a visit from the University of UK visiting our project. And I told you it's about dealing with the stigma. So what about the people who is not able to go to garden? Because when you enter to garden, you see the capabilities of the persons. When the city manager came to garden, he asked me to do a new project for the city. And I did not ask him, please, I want to... No, he told me, Salvador, I want this at the city level. And we moved to 4 new gardens some years ago. So it's about teaching community what the potentials. So we did exhibition, and we have done, we went to Amsterdam again, incorporated competence for poverty reduction, Congress, we have been in Catalonia, we have been in different European places. We are sharing this project. We have been to Spanish universities, and the gardeners work with me. For example, I love this photo. You know, maybe you recognize Nick Pollard. He's an important man in our community. He's teachers from Karolinska University, or this high-level university. And this is one of my students and one of my gardeners, Placido. And he's in this congress as mental health expert. So it's not just about gardening. We are not just giving them the role of gardeners. We are giving them the role of experts that can contribute and go to universities. We have been in 3 universities lecturing with all the team, but also international congresses. So that's about meaningful occupation. And that's an important lesson because, as I told you, as occupational therapists, you have power. And you must be careful. Because it's like a director of one theater. And you can use your power to disempower the people. Okay, you know, I am the expert, I am the OT, I am here to save you. Or you can see the real potentials of persons and look for the opportunities and bring them to the real places and the real opportunities. Placido was an expert. I just put the conditions for him to be in the Congress in La Coruña. And I can tell you it was a transforming experience. So we started this tiny project in 2005, and some years later we were working this this photo is when we were working again in front of the art museum and the art performance building of my city. It's the most important building. We were working there because the city mayor just invited us because he saw the garden. We didn't come and said, oh, we should. No. We saw the garden and we said, I want it. And we were working at the cathedral. It was a wonderful garden from the 17th century, and I have been working there. We have been working in these spaces. So this is one example. Another example is just dealing with the stigma, so we can also spend our time in our classes saying that, oh, you know, stigma is terrible, especially stigma with mental health survivors. It's terrible, and we have to deal with the stigma. And you know, mass media is an important part of the problem. We should change that. It has an impact, real impact. I don't know, maybe the students 4 years later do something. But why don't you do that in real time? So what we did was to invite the Mental Health Association and to work in a common project called Potential, that was to deal with the stigma at a mass media level. So we empower the students and the mental health survivors together. We give a 20 hours capacitation on theater and a 10 hours capacitation on how to create audiovisual narrative. Because it's not just to say, okay, we are going to create a video for the mass media. No, we must share the knowledge and ensure the people have the knowledge to transform the reality. So it was wonderful to see a class full of 30, 35 people, between students, mixed with mental health survivors, receiving a learning process about how to create a video, how to create a performance, how to introduce theatrical skills into our job. And it was done with the third-year students in the subject of occupational therapy in mental health, in the theme of dealing with the stigma. For me, it was much more meaningful. So this is about action, potential project, fighting social stigma, mass media, and we also involve a 4-year research student in doing her final thesis in this project. So we are doing again the 3 parts: education, research, and action. You see the interaction between the mental health survivors with the students, and this is meaningful learning. Here we are learning about theater, how to improve our expression capabilities. And you see the interaction. It's different interaction when they are just listening in the classes about mental health survivors. Because I had Pokemon hunters in my classes in the first year. I realized when I started teaching, there were Pokemon hunters, they were hunting diagnoses. Oh, bipolar disorder, they were just understanding diagnosis. And we need, diagnoses are extremely necessary, we need them. We need to learn them, but we need to complete the picture. And this is a way to complete it really. So we create videos that they were showing at the local TV. For example, we went to the optometrician shop on the corner of the university, and we're creating a history that there was a mental health survivor who was trying new glasses, and when the woman in the shop was saying, "What do you see?" he was seeing one of the, "Oh, that's somebody who is dangerous." And then the shopper was saying, "No, sorry, these glasses are distorted by the problem of stigma. So try these new ones." "Oh, I see somebody who is different and is a strange behavior." "No, sorry, these lenses are distorted by prejudices. What do you see now?" "Somebody like me. These are the right ones." So this is the kind of question, the narrative we're creating. And this is one of another narrative we're creating together with the students and with the mental health survivors. Just talking about pirates. Are you seeing pirates? You know that pirates always have one blind eye, and the question was, if you are not a pirate, why you have a blind eye? Why you don't see potential? Why you don't see capabilities? Why you are missing what makes us to be different? So this was a narrative about this. So this is what we are doing in mental health, for example, of the projects. This is one of the projects we started 2 months ago. This is funded by a bank. I told you we need to find money. We found more than 25,000 euros, and I hope 55,000 more euros are coming in a project to deal with poverty. We have an unemployment rate in Spain of 25%. And poverty is affecting the role of learners, of scholars to the children, because, for example, it has important psycho-emotional repercussion, because children are facing anxiety, they're having problems, psycho-emotional problems, that when they arrive to school, they are not ready to learn. When we were talking with the teachers were saying they cannot really learn because their psycho-emotional state is not good to learn, because also they have nutritional problems. So we cannot expect them to have success in the role of scholars if we don't work with all these social, nutritional aspects. So we start thinking a project, and I did not thought the project myself. We do 2 participatory diagnoses with the communities. We were seated long hours with the teachers, with the parents, just talking about the problems of the community, and then we designed together the project. And it took almost 2 years to find the funding. So it's not easy sometimes. We present ourselves to participatory budget, but we were the third ones of 20 projects. We didn't win. We were paying for 100,000, but we see the opportunity to present to a bank. We won 25,000, and now almost 55,000 more are for sure coming from the city council. So it's all fighting, and it's not easy. It's not just one day to for the other. So it's about action. We are dealing with child poverty, dealing with emotional problems, with nutritional problems. We are also working on entrepreneurship with the children, and we are doing with third-year students in the subject of inclusive education. So again, what's the sense of talking about inclusive education? Just saying that we have so many problems in the school systems. We are experts, for example, in inclusion of children. And we involve 2 PhD students. So you see, we are working with degree occupational therapy students, but also I'm working with master students and with PhD students. Now I'm directing, I think, 5, 6 PhD students, and some of them are connected to the project. So you see there are so many different possibilities. So you see my students learning by doing at the school, and we are working from art, from culture, because they are the real potential of the children. They are children with amazing capabilities. They have extremely vitality, and they are very good for performing arts. So we are using theater, we are using arts to work with the project. Also, we are teaching them about entrepreneurship skills, because they are children who will confront a difficult situation. So they need to be entrepreneurs. So with the 12-year-old students, we are teaching the teachers and the students how to promote entrepreneurial skills. They are not going to create a business, but it's about how to work together, how to deal with reality, and how we're going to fund our colonies, our summer vacation, because they have no money to do it. Now they are working on this. So this is another example. And they're just a school of vitality and a school of joyness for everybody. I am so happy. For example, in this project, I have involved 4 research groups of my university. We have a research group expert in entrepreneurship. They are working on the project. We have one expert in nutrition. They are working on the project. My group in mental health, and also we have another group who is expert on methodology. So we are bringing the knowledge from the university to the real communities, doing real praxis, and really transforming the realities. And last project I want to share with you is the art again. It was a lesson from Kosovo, the powerful of art. This project we are working with the Centro de Cultura Contemporánea in Barcelona. It's one museum. It has the importance like the Miró Foundation or the Thyssen Foundation. And we started by research. We were invited to do the research to make the evaluation of what impact it has for people with Alzheimer to visit the museum. The museum is closed on Mondays, and it's just open for them. And they wanted to know what's the impact on the health and the social participation of people with Alzheimer, of these cultural visits. What's the impact of using art? So they invited me and my research group to do this project. We're working, so the action is about inclusive museums. I don't know what the situation in Georgia. You have wonderful museums. They have special programs just working with people, because, for example, it's important with people with Alzheimer. It's one day that's closed, it's just open for them, they just do 5 visits, and they adapt everything. The light of the rooms, the sound of the audios, they adapt everything. It's not to say, of course it's wonderful to go in a normal visit with everybody, but sometimes it's also good to have these adapted visits. For example, we are working with Thyssen Museum, I think you know it maybe. And we started these special visits for mental health survivors that now are becoming volunteers at the museum. So the person who is showing you the museum and who has the knowledge about the museum is a mental health survivor. This is also about dealing with stigma. And in this project we have involved 4-year students, and we have a European project. So I think this was not going to work. I just put a video here for you. So you can see some examples. This is the project I was talking about with Alzheimer. So you have some images of the project. So as you see, it's again, it's been a real project. So the most important thing, we have seen that it has a very important impact on the emotional well-being of the people. Especially, it has a powerful impact too in the cognitive well-being of the people, but also in the social participation. So the most important thing is that we started with this project, and now we are working in a new project. We are working with Tiblisi Museum in Barcelona, and we are teaching, working with Salvador Museum in Portugal, and just started working also in UVic, how to spread this project. So it means that we have already a European network. We can present to European projects now. So if you know somebody from Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, maybe who also want to be part of this project, you are invited. And the research, I have no time now to talk about it, has an impact important at emotional well-being, especially cognitive, but especially social participation. It's amazing that we are working with museums like this museum, but also we are trying to work. We have almost an agreement with Reina Sofia and El Prado Museum, so it's something really, really important. So I will just say that we're also working with suicide, but I don't talk long about this project. But we started from research. The action was about to design new preventative programs of suicide in Spain. But now we are working with maybe we'll develop a research for from the Costa Rican government. We have a national of preventing suicide at the national level, and we are going to do the evaluation for them. So it's really meaningful. We are not just designing new programs in Spain, that occupation is the important part. We're also working now in countries like Costa Rica. So final reflections of my intervention. The importance of the art of partnerships, especially with communities. Occupational therapy must be at the community level. I think we must work with communities, through communities, from communities, whatever you want, but at the community. It's not about institutions any longer. We can work from institutions, but always looking for the connection to the communities. It's about complexity, it's about transdisciplinarity, it's about to work with more professionals, health, social science, engineering, whatever, but the private sector, business sector, and the public sector. We are working with the ministries, so I don't know to teach you about this. Service learning, I highly recommend you this strategy. It's about innovation. It's about entrepreneurship. For example, we know that there are 46 million of people with dementia, and this figure is double every 10 years. We need to be innovative, to think how we can give good services, having a real impact in the emotional well-being and cognitive well-being of people with dementia. We at the same time have wonderful museums, wonderful art resources. Why we are not connecting the dots in an innovative way? Because when we do research, we see that the impact from the people is better. It's about mixed research. We need to do quantitative, qualitative research, but always it's about action research. We need to have a real impact on the life of the people. It's about human rights driven profession. It's about ecosocial occupational therapy. And I must say that I'm going back to occupational therapy without borders, movement, and spirit. So it's about meaning. I have a meaning in my life, and the most important meaning is to fight for a better society for my son and for his generation. We have heritage, a wonderful world, a wonderful society from our parents, and we have the responsibility to bring them back to our sons and to the next generation. So we really must fight for them. So from the University of UVic, we are extremely happy to have the honor to share these reflections with you. And of course, we are open to work with you. We are doing a lot of international consultancy on project design, social entrepreneurship, whatever you want. We're working with universities, research professional groups, enterprise institutions, whatever. Because as it is, we can work at so many different levels. So it has been a privilege for me, and let me finish with one quotation that Eleanor Roosevelt said a long time ago. Eleanor Roosevelt said that the world belongs to the people who believe and fight for it. Believe and fight for the beauty of their dreams. So the world belongs to you. Thank you so much.